I first met in person with Mary E. on the summer of 2007. I had arranged with her husband of 15 years, Terence, to see her for an interview. Mary had initially agreed. Since I was not a newsman but rather an amateur writer gathering information for a few early college assignments and, if all went according to plan, some pieces of fiction, we scheduled the interview for a particular weekend when I was in Chicago on unrelated business. But at the last moment, Mary changed her mind and locked herself in the couple's bedroom, refusing to meet with me. For half an hour, I sat with Terence as we camped outside the bedroom door. I listened, and taking notes while he attempted to fruitlessly calm his wife. The things Mary said made little sense, but fit the pattern I was expecting. Though I could not see her, I could tell from her voice that she was crying. And more often than not, her objections to speak with me centered around an incoherent diatribe on her dreams, her nightmares. Terence apologized profusely when we ceased the exercise, and I did my best to take it in stride. Recall that I wasn't a reporter in search of a story, but merely a curious young man in search of information. Besides, I thought at the time I could perhaps find another, similar case if I put my mind and resources to it. Mary E. was the syslabus of a small Chicago-based bulletin board system in 1992 when she first entered Chicago-based bulletin board system in 1992 when she first encountered Smyle.jpg, and her life changed forever. She and Terence had been married for only 5 months. Mary was one of an estimated 400 people who saw the image, and it was posted on a hyperlinks in the BBS, though she was the only one who had spoken openly about the experience. The rest have remained anonymous, or perhaps dead. In 2005, when I was only in the 10th grade, Smyle.jpg was first brought to my attention by my beginning interest in web-based phenomena. Mary was the only often-cited victim of what is sometimes referred to as Smyle.dog, the being Smyle.jpg is reputed to display. What caught my interest, other than the obvious macabre elements of the cyber legend and my proclivity towards such things, was the sheer lack of information, usually to the point that people don't believe it even existed, other than a rumor or a hoax. It is unique because, though the entire phenomena centers around a picture file, the file is nowhere to be found on the internet. Certainly many photo-manipulated simulacra litter the web, showing up with the most frequency on sites such as the image board 4chan, particularly the X-focused paranormal subboard. It is suspected that these are fakes because they do not have the effect the true Smyle.jpg is believed to have, namely sudden onset temporal lobe epilepsy and acute anxiety. This purported reaction in the viewer is one of the reasons the phantom-like Smyle.jpg is referred with such disdain, since it is patently absurd, though, depending on whom you ask, the reluctance to acknowledge Smyle.jpg's existence might be just as much out of fear as it is out of disbelief. Neither Smyle.jpg nor Smyle.dog is mentioned anywhere on Wikipedia, though the website features articles on such other, perhaps more scandalous shock sites as Hello.jpg or Two Girls, One Cup. Any attempt to create a page pertaining to Smyle.jpg is summarily deleted by any of the encyclopedia's many admins. Encounters with Smyle.jpg are stuff of internet legends. Mary E.'s story is not unique. There are unverified rumors of Smyle.jpg showing up on the early days of Usenet, and even one precedent tale that is in 2002, a hacker flooded the forums of a humor and satire website, Something Awful, with a deluge of Smyle.dog pictures, rendering almost half the forum's users at the time epileptic. It's also said that the mid-late 90s, the Smyle.jpg circulated on the Usenet as an attach of a chain email with the subject line, "Smile, God loves you." Yet despite the huge exposure these stunts would generate, there are very few people who admit to having experienced any of them, and no trace of the file or any link that's ever been discovered. Those who claim to have seen Smyle.jpg often weakly joke that they were far too busy to save a copy of the picture to their hard drives. However, all alleged victims offer the same description of a photo. A dog-like creature, usually described as appearing similar to a Siberian husky, illuminated by the flash of a camera, sits in a dimly lit room. The only background detail is a visible human hand extending from the darkest corner of the left side of the frame. The hand is empty, but usually described as beckoning. Of course, most attention is given to the dog, or dog creature, as some victims are more certain than others about what they are claiming to see. The muzzle of the beast is reputedly split in a wide grin, revealing 2 rows of very white teeth. Revealing 2 rows of very white, very straight, very sharp, very human-looking teeth. This is, of course, not a description given immediately after viewing the picture, but rather a recollection of the victims, who claim to have seen the picture endlessly repeated in their mind's eye during the time that they are, in reality, having epileptic fits. These fits are reported to continue indeterminably, often while the victim sleeps, resulting in very vivid and very disturbing nightmares. These may be treated with medication, though in some instances it is more effective than others. Mary E., I assume, was not on effective medication. That is why, after my visit to her apartment in 2007, I sent out feelers to several folklore and urban legend-oriented news groups, websites, and mailing lists, hoping to find the name of a supposed victim of Smyle.jpg who felt more interested in talking about his experiences. For a time, nothing happened, and at length I forgot completely about my pursuit, since I had begun my freshman year of college and was quite busy. Mary contacted me via email, however, near the beginning of March 2008.
Dear Mr. L., I'm incredibly sorry about my behavior last summer when you came to interview me. I hope you understand that it was no fault of yours, but rather my own problems that led me to act out as I did. I realize I could have handled the situation more decorously. However, I hope you will forgive me. At the time, I was afraid. You see, for 15 years I've been haunted by Smyle.jpg. Smyle.dog comes to me in my sleep every night. I know that sounds silly, but it's true. There is an ineffable quality about my dreams, my nightmares, that makes it completely unlike any real dreams I have ever had. I do not move and do not speak. I simply look ahead, and the only thing that's ahead of me is the scene from that horrible picture. I see the beckoning hand, and I see the Smyle.dog. It talks to me. It's not a dog, of course. I'm not quite sure really what it is. It tells me that it'll leave me alone, if only if I do what it asks. All I must do, it says, is spread the word. That's how it phrases its demands, and I know exactly what it means. It wants me to show it to someone else. And I could. The week after my incident, I received in the mail a manila envelope with no return address. Inside was only a 3.5-inch floppy diskette. Without having to check, I knew precisely what was on it. I thought for a long time about my options. I could show it to a stranger, a co-worker. I could even show it to Terrence, as much as the idea disgusted me. And what would happen then? Well, the Smyle.dog kept its word. I could sleep. Yet, if it lied, what would I do? And who is to say something worse would not come for me if I did as the creature asked? So I did nothing for 15 years, though I kept the diskette hidden amongst my things. Every night for 15 years, Smyle.dog has come to me in my sleep and demanded that I spread the word. For 15 years I've stood strong, though there have been hard times. Many of my fellow victims on the BBS board, when I first encountered Smyle.jpg, stopped posting. I heard some of them committed suicide. Others remained completely silent, simply disappearing off the face of the web. They're the ones I worry about the most. I sincerely hope you forgive me, Mr. L. The last summer when you contacted me and my husband about an interview, I was near the breaking point. I decided I was going to give you the floppy diskette. I did not care if Smyle.dog was lying or not. I wanted it to end. You are a stranger, someone I had no connection with, and I thought you would not feel sorrow when you took the diskette as part of your research and sealed your fate. Before you arrived, I realized what I was doing. I was plotting to ruin your life. I could not stand the thought. In fact, I still cannot. I am ashamed, Mr. L. and I hope that this warning will dissuade you from further investigation of Smyle.jpg. You may in time encounter someone who is, if not weaker than I, then wholly more depraved, someone who will not hesitate to follow Smyle.dog's orders. Stop while you're still whole. Sincerely, Mary E.
Terrence contacted me later that month with news that his wife had killed herself. While cleaning up the various things she'd left behind, closing email accounts and the like, he happened upon the above message. He was a man in shambles. He wept as he told me that he'd listened to his wife's advice. He'd found the diskette, he revealed, and burned it until it was nothing but a stinking pile of blackened plastic. The part that most disturbed him, however, was how the diskette had hissed while it melted. Like some sort of animal, he said. I will admit that I was a little uncertain about how to respond to this. At first I thought it was a joke, with the couple belatedly playing with the situation in order to get a rise out of me. A quick check of several Chicago newspapers' online obituaries, however, proved that Mary E. was indeed dead. There was, of course, no mention of suicide in the article. I decided that, for a time at least, I would no longer pursue the subject of Smyle.jpg, especially since I had finals coming up at the end of May. But the world has odd ways of testing us. Almost a full year after I'd returned from my disastrous interview with Mary E., I received another email.
Hello, I found your email through a mailing list. Your profile said you were interested in Smyle.dog. I have saw it, and it is not as bad as everyone says. I have sent it to you, just spreading the word. Smiley face.
The final line chilled me to the bone. According to my email client, there was one file attached, called naturally Smyle.jpg. I considered downloading it for some time. It was most likely a fake, I imagined, and even if it wasn't, I was never wholly convinced of Smyle.jpg's particular powers. Mary E.'s account had shaken me, yes, but she was probably mentally unbalanced anyway. After all, how could a simple image do what Smyle.jpg was said to accomplish? What sort of creature was it that could break one's mind with only the power of the eye? And even if such things were patently absurd, then why did legends even exist at all? If I downloaded the image, if I looked at it, and if Mary E. turned out to be correct, if Smyle.dog came to me in my dreams demanding I spread the word, what would I do? Would I live my life as Mary had, fighting against the urge to give in until I died, or would I simply spread the word, eager to be put to rest? If I chose the latter route, how could I do it? Whom would I burden in? If I went through with my earlier intention to write a short article about Smyle.jpg, I decided I could attach it as evidence. And anyone who read the article, anyone who took interest, would be affected. And even assuming the Smyle.jpg attached to the email was genuine, would I be capricious enough to save myself in that manner? Could I spread the word? Yes. Yes, I could.